All right, let's jump right in. Today we're heading into the courtroom, but not as lawyers, really, more like storytellers. Because when all the evidence is out there, the final verdict, it often comes down to just one thing. Who told the better story? And the secret to telling that story is probably not what you're thinking.
So, we're going to crack open this fundamental mystery about us, about human beings. And to do that, we're going to lean on some amazing work by Jonathan Gottschall and Socio-Trial expert Professor Brandon Blankenship. Together, they really help us solve a puzzle that is absolutely crucial for anyone who needs to connect with people, to persuade them, and, ultimately, to win.
And this is the big question, isn't it? I mean, if you think about it from a pure survival of the fittest point of view, our obsession with make-believe stories, it just seems kind of illogical. It takes up so much time, so much energy. So why is it that everywhere you look, every culture in history is built on stories?
This really frames the whole problem perfectly. Just think about it for a second. Every other basic human drive, the need for food, for safety, for reproduction, they all have a really obvious biological payoff. But our deep, deep love for stories, from a purely evolutionary standpoint, it almost seems like a bug, a luxury we shouldn't have been able to afford. And yet, it's completely essential to who we are.
So the key to solving this whole riddle, according to Gottschall and Blankenship, isn't found where you'd expect. It's not in some dusty library or in a movie theater. No, the answer is somewhere way more primal and, honestly, a lot more chaotic.
That's right, a daycare. The blueprint for why stories have such a powerful grip on us is found in the way that little kids play. And it's not about escapism. It's actually something way, way more important.
We have this romantic idea of childhood play, that it's this perfect, happy fantasy land. But if you really stop and listen to what kids are playing, you'll find it's a world of constant trouble. The themes that pop up over and over are surprisingly dark. Being stolen, dying, running away. It's a world filled with problems and disasters. So, what in the world is going on here?
And here it is. This is the big reveal. Story isn't a luxury at all. It's a survival tool. It's our species' flight simulator for life. See, children's play, and really all fiction, it's like a virtual reality where we get to practice dealing with life's biggest hurdles: failure, conflict, loss, all without having to suffer the real-world consequences. It's practice.
Okay, so how does this incredible evolutionary tool actually become a powerful strategy inside a courtroom? If a story is basically a simulation for trouble, how do you frame that story when the trouble is devastatingly real? Well, it all comes down to how you cast your hero.
Professor Blankenship says that probably the single biggest mistake a lawyer can make is telling what he calls the victim story. Juries, just like any audience, they don't really connect with a character who is only defined by their pain. They connect with a victor, someone who is actively fighting to overcome that pain. It's the huge difference between asking for pity and actually commanding respect.
And this right here, this gets to the absolute core of the psychology. We are just hardwired to root for the fighter, for the hero who refuses to give up. When a jury sees someone pushing back against their circumstances, it triggers this deep, instinctual urge inside of us to join them in that fight.
Now, this brings us to what might just be the most powerful and honestly the most counterintuitive tool in this entire storyteller's toolkit. It completely flips our expectations of what a tragic story is supposed to feel like.
Just think about that for a moment. If you're telling a jury a story about a catastrophic injury or maybe a wrongful death, what's the emotion you need them to feel? I mean, the obvious answer is sadness, right? Or grief, or maybe anger. But that's not it.
The most powerful tool you have is joy. I know, that sounds completely wrong, but stay with me here, because how this works is the real secret to unlocking a genuine emotional connection with any audience, especially a jury. Professor Blankenship has this brilliant concept he calls depositing joy to withdraw pain. See, you can't just tell a jury what was lost. You have to make them feel it, and the only way to do that is to first show them what was there to begin with. You have to share the happy memories, the inside jokes, the laughter between a mother and her daughter. You deposit that joy into their emotional bank account so that when you finally describe the loss, the withdrawal is just devastating. They feel the emptiness because you first made them feel the fullness.
So, we've solved the riddle of fiction. We've figured out how to cast our hero. But there's one final critical piece to this whole puzzle. A story like this, it can't just be a performance. It has to feel real, authentic. And that authenticity has to start in one very specific place.
And it's not the judge. It's not the 12 people sitting in the jury box. Nope, it's someone much, much closer to home.
The storyteller, the lawyer, it's you. You have to believe the story first. You have to feel that moral outrage. You have to feel the joy that was lost. You have to feel the strength of the fight. They say the longest journey is from the head to the heart. And if you, the storyteller, haven't made that journey yourself, there's no way the jury's going to. You have to truly feel it.
And this is the great paradox of storytelling, isn't it? The story is not about your performance. It's not about your ego. But it requires everything from you. Your empathy, your belief, your emotional honesty, all to make the story entirely about your client. It's your deep, authentic connection that lets the jury see the hero, feel the joy, and truly understand the loss. And that right there is the secret to telling a story that doesn't just get heard, but gets won.